I think, I'm in a phase with parenting that my kids are little, and I guess I just trust that there is growth happening, and we are learning new things about ourselves and each other and God, and there's work going on that I don't see or understand. And so I think that's where I've landed right now with parenting and faith, is that there's things happening, and I trust that they're happening, and I trust in those promises that God has made, that it is for our good, that all these trials and temptations and all those things produce endurance and produce good fruits, and the work that we're putting in with our kids are producing good fruit. And we don't really see that, I think, right now. It's hard to see that right now, but every once in a while I think I get a glimpse of that.
Okay, so I am often reminded of conversations I've had with Kevin about how parenting gives you a unique window into how God loves you. When you're overwhelmed with love for your children and you think, that's how God loves me. It's pretty amazing. And I've also been thinking about how different my kids are. I mean, they are really very different from each other, and which is kind of amazing in and of itself. But they've responded to all of this that's going on in different ways, and they've had different experiences of it, and different challenges, and also different strengths that they can lean on. And that's who they are, and that's the way they are. And I see that this is how God designed them. I sometimes feel like I'm praying, God forgive me for my shortcomings, but He knows what they are. He gave them to me, and He knew that I didn't need to have a really long attention span, because at some point I was going to be asked to do 20 things at once, and that's fine. And so it's good. And Izzy is really stubborn, and that can be frustrating, but I know that it's going to be impossible for people to talk her into doing stuff she doesn't want to do. And Sabrina is really emotional. She's making faces at me. Sabrina is really emotional, but that means she loves bigger than anyone. See, I can't do this. I can't talk about you in front of you. It's weird. And Nathan is just incredibly easygoing and tolerant and patient in ways that will be beneficial to him throughout his life. And Lydia is just filled with joy and excitement. And so when I think about the way that I look at them and only see the potential that they have, and only see all of the really good stuff, I really do feel like that's the way that God looks at us. He sees what we're capable of.
So I think some of the things about being at home during this pandemic and spending time with uncertainty and worrying about others, and thinking about what we can do to help, and how much there is that feels like is out of our control. I do think in terms of impacting my faith, probably one of the biggest things for me has been just having small moments throughout the day where I try to have moments to connect with God. And I think, my life before all of this was a lot more structured. So I had certain things I would do at home, and certain things I would do at work, and certain things I would do after work, and, taking the kids places and doing things like that. And I think now everything's sort of blended together, right? So I'm working at home, and the kids are at home, and, they're around, people are around during time that I would normally pray all by myself. And so I think in terms of my faith, I think all this disruption has just reminded me of kind of what the basics are. So even just something as simple as Easter, and thinking, what are we going to do on Easter Sunday, and just simply sitting down with some graham crackers and some grape juice and having communion together was, for me, I think that was so powerful, because it gave me a moment to just remember this is really what it's all about. This is really what everything else that we do around Easter is all about. And I think in the same way, you know, I miss having those quiet moments in the morning that I can guarantee I can sit down and spend time. And I can't always do that here, but now I feel like I'm realizing it's really just about connecting with God. And if I do that for a minute at a time, 5 or 6 times during the day, that's a different way of doing it. It might not be how I always want to do it. But for now, that might be the way that we connect, just in adapting. And I think that I'm learning that that faith is about intention, and that faith is about trust, and that me learning how to be flexible, me learning how to find ways to connect with God, find ways to find restoration, even if I have to do it a different way than I maybe have done it in the past. That's been a challenge, but it's been an opportunity as well.
You know, God, I believe genuinely in my heart, has had a plan through this pandemic. I don't think that his plan, it's been terrible. I don't think his plan has been to hurt or to harm, but it has been to warn and to help us reflect. Hebrews says that no discipline is pleasant at the time, but you'll reap a harvest of righteousness and peace if you're trained by it. So I hope that through this pandemic, even though it's uncomfortable, it doesn't feel good, we'll all be able to reflect, accept the Lord's kind of discipline in this way for our families, and find those things that we should be hanging on to afterwards. God bless you. Have an awesome Mother's Day, and hang in there, everybody. Stay safe and healthy.